Most gardens are planted once in spring, and then we just react all summer, but I don't garden that way. I'm going to show my garden map. I have my clipboard next to me, and you're going to see all three seasons at once. Plus, how do I plan to eat all winter from the garden? What does the map help me do? It does three jobs. It lets me see the preseason clarity of the whole year at once. It gives me in season guidance. You remember what follows what because you wrote it down and you figured it out ahead of time when you weren't knees deep in the garden, right? And then post season data, you learned what worked. I really want to do a good job at record keeping this year, journaling where things went and then how the harvests were. So, Team Replay, have you ever thought about what crop replaces what in your beds? Let's say something gets harvested out in 25 to 60 days. What goes next? Do you leave it empty? We're going to talk about the full planning order. So, if you've missed the seed haul, I showed the entire seed list for my gardening year. Check out that replay in the description. When I'm talking about my map, I always ask myself, what perennials do we want to add this year? What are the responsible crops that we're going to grow for calories and storage? What are the long season anchors? Those are the things that I plant and they stay there and they're never moved. They're there till the frost comes. What are the succession transitions? Who follows who, right? We're going to give examples. What are the continuous crops? This is that 2 week rhythm. So these are things that you use every 2 weeks to sow. It's not just to plant once and forget it. I also have a whole list of things to plant for gap fillers, for layering empty spaces, stacking plants where you have multiple ones in one space and what that looks like. We also have our emotional support plants, our experimental crops, and our fantasy crops. So those are the categories I'm going to break down. Thank you all for joining us live. We have South Florida Sunshine Tropical, Storms Radios, Ecology Today, Mike's Cat at Gardening. I saw you at the end of the last one. Robin Garden says succession planning is definitely the key to maximizing the harvest. Dave Knight says I will be dreaming of how to plant mine after this. I hope it gives you some good ideas. Anne's Place, good morning to you. Good to see you. So, my first choice on the list was to figure out the perennials because they're usually planted in spring for me. It's like the first thing, right? I really want currants. I don't know what colors, just all the colors. I want to get grapes, two different kinds, a seedless table grape. I want to try growing aronia berries, two different kinds, a plum tree, because I think I have one. So I need to figure out who he needs, for cross pollination. If I don't know, I got to look it up. And then a hazelnut tree or hazelnut bush. I have one already, if it even made it. So we want to get somebody that's a companion for them and add more, of course. So those are the perennials that I'm looking at adding this year and then maintaining the perennials I already have. The responsible crops. What am I growing this year? These are the calorie and storage crops. So some examples. Your potatoes, the winter squash, the dried beans. Our garlic is already in the ground. We grow hardneck garlic here. The onions, we do long day onions here. The storage cabbage, the carrots. I'm a huge carrot fan. What are the anchor the long season crops that stay put all season? So like I said, it goes in the ground and it stays there till the frost comes. Where some of these, you put it in the ground and it comes out. These are tomatoes, peppers, Brussels sprouts, those beans for drying. They need to stay in their place the whole season. Same with the winter squash. A sweet potato, I might try growing one this year. I'm not sure. Hey, Homestead Aquarius, welcome to the show. Adam says, I journal every new crop each year, so I know if it's worth replanting or replacing with a tried and true. I want to get really good at my data this year. I want to narrow these seeds down to just the ones that work. Parsnips would stay in place all year. Same with watermelon. Then I am going to show my map. Don't worry. There's the continuous crops, the 2 week rhythm. You're adding in lettuce, radish, cilantro, green onions, arugula, baby beets, planting bush beans every 2 weeks. You can put those in somewhere, right? When we're talking about layering by root systems, I show an example when we get into the continuous garden conversation, which is coming out in March. But this is when you tuck lettuce at the base of a tomato, celery on the other end, on the shade side, dill at the edges of cucumbers, tatsoi between peppers, kale between cabbage, beets between trellis crops. So I grow peas, cucumbers, and dried beans and tomatoes on trellises. So beets at the base of those. The root system is different, and I'll show examples. And the book that I reference for that is this one. It's the Living Soil Handbook by Jesse Frost. I took my yellow marker out, but it shows a really good example of the different layers in the root system. So yeah, of course I can't find it now, but I'll show it in that video because I filmed it already. Add emotional support plants. Now that the food structure is solid, after you've figured out what plants for each of those categories, let's add in our flowers, our herbs, the basil, the dill, the pollinator plants, zinnias, calendula, nasturtiums, chamomile, sunflowers. Then we can add in our experiment crops if we still have money left, right? For me this year, it's lovage, sorrel, good King Henry, any new varieties or mixes that I want to compare to other tried and trues. The fantasy crops, maybe it's things that are for a really long season and it might be impossible, you've been told. Maybe it's something that you don't know how it tastes, and so you're going to try it. Maybe it's exotic or fun colors. This is like a really small percentage of your space. We want all those other things first to take up. So we're going to talk about spring to summer to fall transitions. I'm going to show my maps. So this is of the West Island, and I drew little images to kind of make a map, and I have a key next to me. So this island is very hot. Low amounts of rain get here. It's the very end of where rain flows. There's no water near this area. What I have in there is a couple of different trees already. I have comfrey and borage and mullein and chives growing there as perennials. And so I'm going to squeeze in potatoes in this space and sunflowers with some nasturtiums. And I'd like to put onions kind of everywhere. So I'm going to see if onions grow okay in this spot. And then the mustard seed, like I said, is going to be broadcasted all over here in the spring. And then in the June, when it's warm enough out, I will put in all the different pumpkins that I read about to you guys in the seed haul, the different squash. I do winter squash. I'm not a summer squash person. I tried it last year. I'm not repeating that again. What is the blue? Oh yeah, we're going to have cosmos. So there is a mix of flowers in this one. So now I need to switch to a different map to kind of explain, like, how am I fitting everything in. So this is the garden that is in some shade, and it's the original like 30-year-old space that I'm trying to get some more organic matter in. There's going to be on the north side of this garden a row that I try to plant things to either use as wind blocks or green manure, just like a placeholder. So I'm going to put buckwheat there, and I'm going to do a big row of marigolds. And I do want to put marigolds around the entire garden because I did that in the heat-loving garden last year and it really helped. So I'm going to do it in the shade cool crop garden. I call it the cool crop garden because it takes forever for the snow to melt. So this is where I'm putting those fava beans and all my dried beans. So there's cranberry bush. It's a 30-inch wide row, and I'm going to do 4 rows of beans in each one. When I plant it, if it feels like 4 is too tight, I'll go down to 3, but I think I'll get away with doing the 4. And then I will just see how far apart everything goes all the way down. So that's a 20 by 30. Are the beds 20 long or 30 long? I think they're 20 long. So it's a 30-inch wide bed and they're 20 feet long. And we're going to see what I can fit. If there's anything you know that grows well with a bush bean for drying, let me know. I was thinking of poking in some summer savory, maybe down the center. I don't know. I don't know how to companion plant with this one. Now, I do have the carrots going into this space too in different blocks. Hopefully that works out. Let's see. I don't even have the comments open. Way to go. Stop sharing. Hey, Duncan. Hey, Miss Sharon. I'm going to show another. Hey, Scott's Life Off Grid. I'm going to show another garden map, and then I'll keep talking about how I succession plant everything. Share screen. Window. This is the heat loving garden. It's in full sun, and this thing it was rocking and rolling last year. Last year was its first year being planted. The year before that, it was just cover cropped. This thing gets a lot of action. So in these beds, again, it's 30 inches wide. There's this brown squiggly line down the center means that there's a cattle panel trellis there. So on the north end, I have this row that goes east to west versus north to south. And that is where I'm going to fit in all kinds of things. We're going to throw onions in there, eggplants, different cabbages and beets and kales and chard, and just kind of rotate things in and out and see what works. Then in the structured rows, the first planting is peas. That's what we do in the spring. This whole thing that has trellises will be peas. So that's 4 rows. Once it's warm enough out, that's when I plant the tomatoes or cucumbers at the bases. Eventually the peas get chopped and dropped, and then those warm crops fill that in. Now underneath the warm crops at the ends, last year I did celery and Napa cabbage, and that worked really well because I used the shade from those full mature tomatoes and cucumbers to do that. And I can also try and squeeze in some beets and radishes and carrots and lettuce and just like succession through there. Remember how we said there's things we can plant every 2 weeks? I could do, bed A 1 week and 2 weeks do bed B. It just depends how I want to rotate through things. With the cucumbers, we are companion planting nasturtiums with those. And I'm looking at my chart. Cucumbers, is it dill? Yeah, we put the dill next to that. We'll see how that works. Then the row that looks like it has angry eyes is what Mark said. Those are all my peppers. So there's hot peppers on one end and then all the sweet bells that we talked about over here. And then maybe I can put kale next to it. I'm not sure. This is the one where I'm going to broadcast buckwheat right away. So what I'm going to do is plant the little baby peppers, that are this tall. I'm going to broadcast buckwheat and water it in, and then I won't walk there. The buckwheat takes 30 to 35 days to get to the flowering stage. I will either just walk on it or cut it, and it's not going to take very long, and we'll chop and drop it. And now it's filled the space. It was a ground cover. It was a cover crop, and now it's green manure. And then now I'll be coming into when I can pick peppers. So I would be walking around in there, and then I'm not competing with weeds and things. South Florida Sunshine Tropical says, yes, aronia berries are best dehydrated into powder into smoothies, or people, I am sure, make them into jelly. They were on the list last year, and all the perennials I bought last year never woke up, and I got a refund on it. Oh, Miss Sharon, I know. I changed. I didn't know how long the first show would take. It's okay. Everybody can come in at their own time, and we can have them hit the replay. Robin Garden says aronia berry has been described as astringent, dry, and off-putting, mouth-sucking flavor. What? Oh, well, maybe it's for the birds. I also need to look for some nitrogen fixing trees on my perennial list. Maybe it's because I heard that you can do something with them, like Carol was saying. Okay, I read about the journal. So you guys saw how my brain dumps it onto paper. I'm not able to run software. Is that what the pumpkin will look like? Says Ecology Today. This was the first year I drew little images to try and make it visually pleasing instead of my scribble handwriting. Kevin says, how wide are your pathways? We're going to go, let's see, depends on the garden. So the dried bean garden, I want tight. I'm going to try just 1 foot, and we're going to mulch it with leaves and dried grass clippings, because I still haven't figured out the living pathway thing, and I can't do it at 1 foot. I can't do a living pathway at 1 foot. In the warm crop garden, where the tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers are, I don't remember. If the bed is 30 inches wide, I don't remember how much before the next bed starts, because it's just a big, I just plant everywhere and I just kind of walk in and out. And that one, I was just chopping and dropping brassicas that went to flower to cover. And then there was a lot of exposed soil on that one, because we did terminate the cover crop that was there before there by turning it under. So then you have bare soil again. So I will have to answer that when the season comes and it's planted, Kevin. The food forests, I don't really have pathways. Like, the island has grass around it, and you walk in the grass, and then you tiptoe through the island and try not to crush a strawberry or whatever. I plant as much in the food forests, so there's no pathways in those except for just the edge of the lawn. Um, I want it to be tight as possible. Yes, the peppers look like angry eyes. Um, Robin says eggplant is the only plant I found that does not play nice with other plants. I don't have a clue where to put the thing. Maybe it needs to go in a container. I'll have to do some more research on sun and temperature. I don't have a clue. Scrolling through to see if there's any more questions, and then hey, you found us again, Traveling Whitcombs. Good. Good, good, good. So we're going to give more examples of how I transition from spring to summer to fall. Bochai says, okay, Shawnee grows paper. I lose it. Software, they update it and I lose it. Seeds in boxes. Wait, where are my seeds? Oh, just stick them in the ground. I have a message about this whole clipboard at the end of the live stream that we'll talk about. Okay, let's try and talk about the transitions some more. So when the garlic comes out in July, that's an empty space. What are we going to do with it? Well, we could plant fall cabbage, and what that means is it could be Napa cabbage for your kimchi, or whatever else you use Napa cabbage for, Chinese cabbage, or you could plant a storage variety of cabbage, or maybe you know that you want to ferment it. Whatever variety is specific, like if you want high sugar content, whatever. I talked about the spring peas and then putting in tomatoes, and then at the base of those tomatoes in the fall, I could put the dwarf peas. I'm not sure where I'm going to put them yet this year. That's kind of one of those things where I wait to see how the garden is, and then I'll put them in. In the spring, you can plant spinach in a spot. Then when the ground is warm enough, start putting pepper plants in. Spinach gets harvested out, then the peppers are there. Towards the fall, once the peppers are going to be done, you can get some radish planted at the base of those, and then just chop and drop stuff. First, you can plant lettuce in the spring. You can put bush beans in that spot in the summer. In the fall, you can start planting turnips and then chop and drop the bush beans. Hopefully this is making sense. In the spring, you can have arugula and then put your tomatoes in on top of that. In the summer, arugula gets harvested out, tomatoes are rocking it. Then towards the end of the season, maybe you should plant some tatsoi for fall. So you're going from cold tolerant, heat tolerant to cold tolerant, right? Plant your radish, harvest those, plant your cucumbers, harvest those, plant some kale. Now, things happen in the garden. Things get diseased, things get hail damage, things get wind blown and knocked over, things get flooded, things get droughty, stuff dies. Maybe somebody stepped on it, right? You need the fillers. So you can keep sowing by seed or have starts if you want to babysit starts and have a little nursery. Lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, your basil, green onions, dill, cilantro, bok choy, maybe some extra cabbage. Maybe you want to put some marigolds in. These are things to help make it so your garden constantly has something going on in there. My garden map is a guide to help me see the entire year, but it's not a rigid rule book. When I get out there and I have seeds in my pocket, that one space on the north end of the warm crop bed, I don't know what that's going to actually look like. I don't think I'm going to stick to this. But those crops that stay in their places the whole season, I need to stick to the plan because I won't be able to rotate them out. The purpose of the map is to see spring, summer, and fall all at once, to understand what replaces what, to plan space intentionally, and to reduce decision fatigue. When I am tired, garden body, sunburnt, summer me, I don't want to have to think. I just want to grab and go out there, right? The real garden always wins. Okay, this is powerful to admit. Weather shifts, a crop fails, germination is uneven, pests show up, you fall behind, you change your mind, right? After you plant, you can cross out stuff, but honestly, just rewrite a blueprint of what is actually where. Maybe it's taking the videos like Bowtie does. You can note date changes. One year you got to plant in April, next year you got to plant in May, right? Record variety swaps. Mark empty spots. Now your plan becomes a record. So, Anne's Place says 25 different partially used notebooks in various places. Does this mean I'm also ADHD? Thank you, Bowtie, for leaving the show playing while you rest. Appreciate that. Robin Garden says, Jay, that's a good idea. Napa cabbage is highly versatile with a sweet, mild flavor and pleasant crunch that makes it suitable for both raw salads, cooked dishes like stir-fry soups, and rolls. Jay says, eggplants, if you do not play nice, you're going to get little containers of your own. Okay, good. I read that. Not too far behind. For those in the replay, go ahead and leave us a comment. We'll have a conversation afterwards. Robin says, fillers ready to go are key. Weather and seed saving delays make this succession imperfect. Ecology Today says, random gardener with an arrow. Storm says, Shawnee grows. Other life things get in the way of the garden. Yeah, I've had that too. Lived that life. People are sharing their notebooks and clipboard stories. Okay, so next, how do I eat the garden? I feel like part of the mapping conversation and planning stage is what do I want to make? Because then we can learn what we actually need to have. Because maybe there's a piece of the recipe that we could grow, but we didn't know until we looked at the recipe. So this comes back to what Sow and Tear talks about. You can check out her channel with going over your cookbooks and your preservation books now and looking to see if you have the seeds. So for me personally, I'm going to talk about my plan on how I want to eat all this stuff, right? Obviously, we are doing it for the freshness. We talked about those early season tomatoes for eating right away, the fresh lettuce and greens, the fresh herbs, the green onions. We will make fresh salad dressings, which we will get into how I do that when we have our herbs conversation coming in March. Cherry tomatoes, I would love to hear some ideas on how you guys use them. What I've done is sun-dried and froze them for roasts. There's some kind of fermenting method that I will have to figure out. I think it has to do with basil and onions and garlic with the cherry tomatoes. And then the juicing. I was bringing in 5-gallon buckets of cucumbers, and so I'm making juice with celery and adding apples and lemons, which apples, I don't have my own apple trees producing yet, but they are planted, and I can't grow lemons here, and I'm not dealing with indoor citrus containers at this time. Something new to me this year, I learned on one of my favorite gardeners, Sunra. I was just watching one of his videos today. He took onions and bell peppers and eggplant, and I think carrots was in it, and garlic, and roasted it all up in bite-sized pieces. Tons of herbs chopped up with lemon juice. I think oil was in it at that stage too to get it to stick. Tossed it all together, put them in jars, topped them with some olive oil, and he just put them in the freezer. So now you have this to go with your eggs or to go with a pasta dish or to just serve in the winter. I thought it was so good because I am not interested at this time on doing huge preservation weekends or nights or whatever. I used to. I used to be that person, but if I can, like, push a button and let it dry or throw some stuff with salt and water in a jar and let it ferment, put it in the freezer, I'm doing that at this point. Now we also have the Adam is heading to bed. Thank you for sticking around. The chili sauce, the pasta sauce, the pizza sauce. That is the reason why I want to narrow down a good paste tomato. So I roast my tomatoes in the oven with onions and garlic, and then I blend them into a sauce. Or I freeze my tomatoes whole or halved and deal with it in the winter. I make egg rolls, which I'm doing this weekend, by the way. Don't tell Mark, I haven't told him yet. And in that filling, I'm not telling you my secret recipe, but I will tell you that there's cabbage, carrot, and onion in it. I can grow all those things potentially here. I still have yet to grow good cabbages. I have canned water bath canned them before, though that mix, and it's a tangy. It does a tangy thing. So I want to see if there's any other ways to have that mix. Like maybe I could ferment the mix, is what I'm kind of trying to figure out. I love having some bell peppers in the freezer to add to breakfast. I do a lot of potatoes and eggs with peppers and onions and ham in the winter. Mark used to eat a bunch of stir fries. So yeah, having them in the freezer, having the green beans in the freezer, and I talked about cherry tomatoes. So new to me to expand. Oh, you found Ecology Today, Sunra Artist Homestead, one of my favorite channels. Um, I have not fermented cabbage yet as like sauerkraut because honestly, I'm not a big sauerkraut person. But maybe I can ferment the egg roll filling. That's what I want to try. I did ferment carrots and ginger, grated, loved it. It's great to use when I'm making a slaw for a taco. I've talked about in the seed haul live stream, catch it in the replay, that I am really into fermenting hot peppers with sweet peppers, onions, and garlic to then blend into a fermented sauce. It was a lifesaver when I was sick with a head cold. I was putting that hot sauce on my food and I could breathe and feel good for an hour, right? The cherry tomatoes I talked about trying. I haven't had a successful pickle. I used to water bath can, I used to pickle, fridge, so the brine was with vinegar. I tried all the recipes, and I mean all, like all the blends, and it's just not as good as Gedney's dill pickles. My kids wouldn't eat preserved pickles. So I think I want to make fermented dill pickles for me, and if anyone else wants to eat them in the house, right on. But I want to do that this year because I want to get something fermented ate every day. And if it comes from my garden, it keeps long into winter in the fridge. Might have to get a second fridge if we get a little crazy. Then this whole dehydrating thing. I don't have a true dehydrator. I have a smart oven that has a dehydrator setting and only one shelf. So I really need to look at getting a dehydrator with all the trays to do big batches. Also, having dry storage, your dried beans. I use those in soups and chili. We might get more practice at making like a refried bean kind of a thing. I'm not sure. But I did speak about smoking and drying peppers to leave them whole. And then once I want to powder it, I'll powder it. Or I can rehydrate it and blend it and make a sauce. Sun-dried tomatoes and oil in the fridge has been new for me. And I'm experimenting with adding those to pastas this winter. I want to get good at tea blends. I have a couple tea blends that I buy from a local woman, and I'm still going to do that honestly. But I want to get into saving some more things from my garden to make tea from because we drink a lot of warm beverages all winter long. And then, if you've missed my infused honey conversations, I did a top 5 fermented honey video, and there's so many places to take it. There's so many things from the garden and the herbs that I can put in honey and let it sit and mix up and then store it in the fridge to use. Which I forgot, by the way, that I had onion honey in the fridge when I had the sickness, right? So this year's goal is paying attention to harvest totals. What I planted to narrow down the year's worth equation. So How many dried bean bushes did I plant? Am I gonna count that? I would count, like, did I plant a pound? I have a pound of each. Did I plant half a pound of each? Those are the kind of things I would look at for that. For the sauce tomato row, how many sauce tomato plants did I put out? Who gave me the most, right? How many jars of sauce do I want to make? I was trying to figure this out the other day, which we've done worksheets on this with past videos. We can eat pizza every Friday, right? We can have spaghetti once a month because it's not a favorite here. I don't want to talk about it. And then chili, I only make like once every 3 months. So we're not big tomato sauce eaters because of our family's digestive system. But those kinds of things. Plans can give you direction, observation gives you adjustment. So, in case you missed the seed haul, do check that live stream out next. The continuous garden video is coming out in March. The description is a wonderful place. It has free printable downloads for you. So, there's a seed calendar in there, there's a salad garden in there, there's what is it called? Square foot gardening guide in there, and then a checklist to kind of get you planning on how you want your garden to look. Sprain says, I like your stream and I look forward to seeing the rest on replay. Good night. Get some rest. I'll see you in the replay. Jay says, get ready for mathing. Yeah, I want to do good record keeping. Like, so I need to buy a scale, is what that means. And I haven't. If anyone knows of a good harvest produce weighing scale, right? Robin says, I make chili every 10 days in the winter. Oh, we can't, they don't eat it that much. Oh, I'm scrolling to see where else we have some things. Pickled jalapenos we've done, and we've done cowboy candy. And like I said, we're not growing jalapenos this year because we don't need any of that. Nope. Robin Garden says, I dehydrated tomatoes, the Principe Borghese, and I wasn't sure they were quite done, so I threw them in the freezer. They are flavor bombs and recipes. I saw Sew and Tear took dehydrated tomatoes and crushed the powder over a dish. Dusty says, we still have fridge pickles and jalapenos, still taste great. The sauerkraut doesn't keep as long. Oh. I don't want a sun oven dehydrator, I don't think, because I worry about all the bugs. Like, it sounds cool and looks cool, but I don't know. What's a Gebnese? Is that up higher in the chat? Oh, Carol. Thanks. I don't know about excellent cook. It's just survival, right? Plant and pray. Oh, that's a cute shirt, Carol. That was Miss Sharon's idea. This was the comment I read. I didn't click a bunch of comments for the screen today because I was all over the place with my eyes. All right. Talking about note taking and losing the note taking. Okay, yep, I read that one already. Let's scroll back down. We're going to be on our way out then I don't know if any of this made sense for my plan. It makes sense to me. It took me like long time when I was sick all week to figure this out. Is it like a hanging basket one? Barry Storms Radio says, I have a produce scale you can have, Shawnee. Really? I have a kitchen scale, like it's flat. It's how I weigh like baking stuff, grams, or salt for fermenting, but I want like, I suppose I'll have to use the people scale for edible pumpkins or something. I don't know if I'm going to count those. Ooh, Mike, I've made beef stew every week for the last 2 months. Have a bowl or two a day. I am a soup life person. Mike is easy to please. You have a very good diet then. That's why it's like I want all the carrots. Because carrots can store really long in the fridge, in the bag. I don't do the whole sand in the basement thing. I just put them in a bag in the fridge. I am going to try freezing some and, like I said, fermenting some. The potatoes, The ones that I plant are for fresh eating, and then I can save some to plant next year. We buy our potatoes from a potato farm and our sweet corn. Oh, it was the freeze dryer. Robin's Garden says Katrina from Sew and Tear used her Harvest Right freeze dryer for those. That's right. They weren't dehydrated. That's a whole game changer to have a freeze dryer. I would be freeze drying fruit for the kids, right? Not that I mean, the goal in the garden is each month have some kind of fruit coming in. I haven't made it successfully. We'll see. Mike grew a ton of sweet potatoes and is going to do more this spring. I've never grown a sweet potato, but I have a slip that I've kept alive all winter, Mike. So I don't know what to do with it. Robin says to Mike, I made a Guinness beef stew tonight. Yum. It was too hot out for stew today. I made a turkey dinner. Cheesy, creamy potatoes and glazed carrots, gravy. Yeah, everyone would like a freeze dryer, right, Carol? Oh, thank you, Brenda. Sounds like a good plan. Um, I think it'll work out. For the stuff that stays where I plant it and like gets cured and stored, I know that's gonna work out. Like that's the easy part. It's all the little things, all the details, watching the weather, getting the flower seeds in. I didn't plant enough flowers last year in succession. So one of the places, all the flowers bloomed and were done, and then it was empty. And I was like, no, I have months left still. I should have planted. Yeah, I messed that space up. Jay says, I've been on a chili kick lately. Nice to have some elements from my garden. Mike says, I did my onions, my garlic, my herbs, my sweet potatoes, and my stew. I have so many butternut squash to use up still. So I've been putting them in everything. Yeah, it was hot, Mike. And then tomorrow it's going to be 50. Oh, I put out all kinds of seeds for the squirrels and birds and bunnies and whoever. And some water. I put some water out for them. Robin's like, yeah, $3,000. Cool tool for the kitchen. I should have pulled the trigger when Costco had them on sale 2 years ago. Well, I think with technology, in 2 years, they'll be cheaper, as always with everything. Anne's Place says I'm busy changing my raised bed boxes into smaller boxes to try and stop the pesky field rats from getting into my plants again this year. You're gonna make them rat proof. Carol cooked up a pork roast with gravy, mashed potatoes, and sweet peas, and it was so good. I don't have anywhere. I don't have the power capacity or the space to put a freeze dryer up. It's like we need a friend with a freeze dryer and then we just rotate. It's my time, weekend, to go put something in there and I'll come pick it up in 2 days, right? Miss Sharon says, keep an eye on your thrift stores. I got a dehydrator for $7 and another one on Marketplace for $10. New in the box is good. That's how I got my Instapot. Lovely garage sale. I'm using it right now. I need to go strain the broth before I go to bed. Mike says, yeah, I got 3 candy roasters, 2 acorn, and other random squash from summer to eat yet. Yeah. What else is left from the garden? Stuff in the freezer. Dusty says, I've heard freeze dryer can do a number on the electric bill. Well, somebody out there did the math, I know, but oh, I made so AJ says butternut ginger squash soup. I made roasted carrots, onions, garlic, peppers that were a mystery of if they were hot or not, and had a little kick to them, and butternut squash. Is that everything? And then I blended that up. Not super fine. It still had little chunkies in it because I don't like drinking soup. I like chewing soup. And then I baked, this was when the furnace was out. I baked that no knead Dutch oven bread, and I really liked it actually. I didn't put fennel or coconut milk in it because I think that's a variation of it. I didn't do that. Well, broth. I put the broth in it. Yeah. Carol goes, yeah, we need like a community garden kitchen with a commercial freeze dryer and dehydrator. Robin says to Dusty, Audrey said it's not too bad at all on the electric bill. Well, some people are penny pinchers and math out everything I've seen on their power wattage usage. Dusty says we love pumpkin bars and squash can be used also. Pumpkin is good to have around to feed pets too. So I do want to incorporate pumpkin, which I can use this. Maybe I should do that now with some of the squash, like muffins and bars, right? With some of the squash that I have. Mike says only one went bad of the many squash that I have in the basement. Fed it to the critters. They loved it. Oh, yeah. Somebody's been destroying a pumpkin that I left out front, and I'm really hoping some of the seeds grow actual pumpkins here at the rental house, because I would love that. Oh, Mike's Raid Pie. You should try bars? Sure, yeah. Dusty says to Robin, I seen a comment somewhere and the electric went up $100. Oh, there's lots to play into that. Exactly. How did they run it every day? There's different types of freeze dryers. There's different sizes on how much they take up and use for power. Like the seasonal homestead has a big one. Bread, pumpkin gingerbread. Interesting, interesting. All right, well, you guys saw my map, you saw my plan. You saw all the seeds in the previous live stream. Told you about the description. So if you've learned something new, share it with another gardener. The more of us restoring the ground beneath our feet, the cleaner our food and water become for everyone. Thanks for gathering around. Keep creating, keep experimenting, keep growing every day in every way.